Here we are, guys, in part 12 of this story. In the land of waves, our favorite blonde encounters the Kyuubi. Watch the subsequent events unfold as Naruto uses the power that was sealed inside of him on the day of his birth. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Now, let's begin. The group remained in Tanzaka for 2 more days following Naruto and Hinata's completion of the waterfall exercise to fully rest from their battle against Orochimaru. Much to Shizune's objections, Tsunade had been trying to either drag Naruto back to the casino, or get him to lend her some of his money, which did not work so well seeing as Jiraiya was the one who was holding onto Naruto's money. Naruto had spent most of those days trying to coax Jiraiya into either teaching him the next exercise for wind manipulation, or teaching him a wind jutsu. Jiraiya gave into the later, not wanting to move on to the next exercise as he felt that Asuma, the only other one in the leaf with a known wind element, would be better suited for that. Jiraiya didn't come fully prepared to teach them actual wind jutsu, not expecting them to progress this far in their training. However, he did bring along one scroll with a rather basic wind jutsu, Futon, Gale Palm. After examining the scroll, the idea of this jutsu was to compress the wind chakra in between clasped hands and unleash it as a powerful gust. The technique was a basic C-rank jutsu, but Jiraiya convinced Naruto that it was a good place to start. Regardless of the rank, Naruto was excited to finally be learning his first elemental jutsu. Being only a C-rank jutsu, it only took them a day to get the basics of the jutsu down. The hardest part was compressing the chakra between their hands before they infused it with the wind element. Believe it or not, the compression part was not too difficult for Naruto, as he has already had experience compressing and containing chakra with his Rasengan. Hinata followed closely behind with getting the jutsu down. The results were rather impressive for a first time as the 2 genin unleashed their attack on an unsuspecting tree, managing to rip a few larger branches off of it. In combat, this technique was not necessarily meant to wound an opponent, but knock them back with a great force of wind. It also showed promise as a defensive technique, being able to blow away most thrown projectile weapons. When the time came for them to return home and Tsunade to assume her role as Hokage, they left Tanzaku town. From there, it was a 2-day walk and thankfully for Jiraiya, there was a hot spring village at the halfway point. This was where they decided to stop for the night. Inside the bath, Jiraiya and Naruto were in the men's bathing area with Shizune, Tsunade, and Hinata over in the women's bathing area. Surprisingly enough, Jiraiya wasn't even attempting to peek. The barrier was perfect for that, being a wall of stacked bamboo, and it would be rather easy to wedge a pencil in to give him an opening. However, there were 2 things preventing him from doing so. The first was that threat from Hiyashi a few weeks ago. He liked a healthy chakra flow to certain areas of his body, but what really stopped him was the second. On the other side of the wall was Tsunade. Even though he was a pervert, he wasn't a stupid pervert. The last time he had been caught peeping on Tsunade was the first time in his life where he nearly died, and he didn't want to be spending the next month in the ICU with Tsunade being the one in charge of him. "Wow, pervy sage, I'm impressed you aren't peeping," said Naruto. Jiraiya was leaning back against the edge of the bath, taking a sip from a bottle of sake that he had brought with him. "Kid, there's more to life than women," said Jiraiya. "Speaking of which, are there any girls back home that you, well, you know?" "Huh," said Naruto, as dense as ever. "UHG, and I thought he was actually making progress these past few weeks," thought Jiraiya. "You know, are there any girls back at home that are special to you?" "Huh, girls that are special to me?" asked Naruto, still confused at where the old pervert was trying to get at. Even the fox was at a loss of words. Jiraiya sighed. "By special, are there any girls that you like? You know, do you have someone who you would want to be your girlfriend?" said Jiraiya, finally getting to the point. "Girlfriend? I don't want a girlfriend," responded Naruto, severely disappointing Jiraiya. "Although, there is one girl." "Oh," said Jiraiya, slipping a little bit into pervert mode. "And who might that be?" "Gah, not like that you pervert," shouted Naruto. "Jiraiya." Tsunade was heard across the divider and Jiraiya froze in fear. Her voice was rather sweet sounding, which was usually followed by the, "You'd better run or you're going to die on spot," tone. "It's not like that, Tsunade," pleaded Jiraiya. "Naruto and I are just having a little talk. HMPH. You better not turn him into a pervert as well," warned Tsunade. Jiraiya turned his attention back to Naruto. "Well, Her name is Sakura, said Naruto. Jiraiya was slightly disappointed at this. Ah, that little pink-haired girl on your team who is always fawning over Sasuke and using you as a punching bag. But, well. Naruto couldn't find a way to debate what Jiraiya was saying. I'm right, aren't I? Asked Jiraiya, trying to push Naruto further. Has she ever done anything truly nice for you? Well. Not really. There was this one time back in the Forest of Death when I told my team about Fuzzball, but after that, things went back to normal, with her still thinking about nothing but Sasuke Tem. So what you're saying is that she doesn't really care that much for you. At least not much more than a teammate, said Jiraiya. Again, Naruto tried to argue, but couldn't find the words. Let me ask you something. Assume that she found out about the Kyuubi before the time, what do you think would happen? Well, Naruto was forced to think about this one. What did everyone else do? They hated him for it, and she would have most likely been the same. Sakura, she probably would have hated me. Pretty much. Everyone in the village hated me for it, except the old man, Tyuki, Iyame, Uruka-sensei, and Naruto's attention turned towards the divider as Hinata came to mind. Now that I think about it, Hinata knew and she never hated me. In fact, she tried to get closer to me, but I never saw it. Naruto was finally beginning to realize. However, over the past few weeks, I feel like we've gotten to know each other better and know I'm beginning to regret not getting to know her back in the academy. And then there were these times when, well, I don't really know how to describe it. It was warm and I felt happy. Pervy Sage, what exactly does that mean? Looks like he's beginning to pick up on it a little, thought Jiraiya. I'm sorry, but that's something you'll need to figure out on your own. Naruto was a little depressed. Jiraiya wasn't going to answer. I will say this though, Naruto. When it comes to girls and women, find one who will always be there and support you. It was at that point in their conversation when someone else joined the two in the hot tub. A man, probably in his early 40s, walked in and took a seat directly next to the divider. Jiraiya knew an amateur when he saw one as the man tried to wedge a hole in the divider. Naruto. Let's get out, he said, pointing at the perverted newcomer. Even Naruto knew what this man was doing and actually agreed with Jiraiya. However, an idea was popping into his head, an incredibly evil idea, but this man deserved it. Do it, encouraged Kurama. Jiraiya walked into the changing room and before Naruto entered, he turned around and took a big breath. Hey, quit peeping at naked women, you pervert, he shouted loud enough for the women here. A few shrieks were heard, followed by something no man will ever hear twice in their life. Tsunade-sama, shouted Shizune, trying to calm the raging big-breasted blonde. Jiraiya, growled Tsunade, with red eyes that could easily be mistaken for Naruto's eyes when he goes into Kyuubi mode. She smashed through the divider as the women in the bath did their best to cover up. Tsunade looked around, trying to find Jiraiya, but all she saw was that old man. It was obvious that this was the pervert. So you like peeping on women, don't you? All over the hot springs the sound of cracking knuckles and breaking bones could be heard. Jiraiya cringed upon hearing this, remembering the time when Tsunade beat him to a pulp. Naruto, that was evil, but sadly that man deserved it. Someone who shamelessly peeps on women for no reason deserves that, said Jiraiya. What are you talking about, you old pervert? You peep on women as well, argued Naruto. Jiraiya turned his head away and crossed his arms as he pouted a bit. Well, I have a reason. Peeping gives me inspiration to write my books, replied Jiraiya. Sure, said Kurama sarcastically. Naruto laughed with the fox. The five of them were about an hour or two outside Konoha. His stomach had been bothering him all day. Despite having eaten only an hour ago, his stomach was craving something else, ramen. He still had the taste of that disgusting ramen from Tanzaku town in his mouth and he knew that there was only one cure for it. Ichiraku ramen, the most delicious ramen in the world. Like Naruto, something was bothering Hinata, however, it wasn't her stomach. For the past few weeks, she had been able to easily accept that she had wind element chakra instead of the traditional Hyuga earth element. This was mainly due to Naruto distracting her from those thoughts. However, as she got closer to home, the thoughts of telling her father this crept back into her mind and slowly she began to retreat back into her shell. Unfortunately for Naruto, there were places they had to go first before he could get his ramen and he was sure he could smell it all over the village, torturing him. Their first stop was the Hokage tower where Tsunade had to have a small meeting with the advisors, Homaru and Kaharu. They announced that the inauguration would be 3 days from now, after the local lords and clan heads were able to assemble. The next stop once they were in Konoha was the hospital. This is why Naruto had brought her home, to heal Sasuke and Kakashi-sensei and to have a look at Lee's condition. Tsunade woke Kakashi, scolding him a bit for falling like that to Itachi. Sasuke was next. Naruto walked into Sasuke's room with Tsunade, startling Sakura. Who knows how many times she had visited him. Sakura's first thought upon seeing Tsunade was who exactly this beautiful woman was. Tsunade placed her hand on Sasuke's forehead and channeled some chakra into him. Sakura was relieved when he began coming to only a few minutes later. Sasuke! She cried out, embracing him as he sat up for the first time in a few weeks. While Naruto was relieved that Sasuke was going to be alright and that Sakura was happy, still, he didn't even get a thank you from her. Perhaps Jiraiya was right about her. Standing behind Tsunade while she finished up with Sasuke was Guy, begging her to look at his student, Lee. Tsunade took a quick look at Lee and unfortunately, it wasn't good. While his arms and legs would eventually heal, he had numerous fragments of bone lodged within his spinal column. Were he to operate as a shinobi, not only would the fragments slow him down, but they would eventually tear through his neural framework, paralyzing him if not worse. She explained that the surgery was incredibly risky, with only a 50% chance of success and that she was the only one skilled enough to perform it. If it failed he would die. Even with the surgery being a success, there was no guarantee that he would be able to perform at the level required to be a shinobi, given months of intensive therapy to even get him back on his feet. Lee was now left with an incredibly difficult decision. Go through with the surgery and risk dying, or give up his lifelong dreams. This was the part that Hinata was not looking forward to. Even though Master Jiraiya was accompanying her, she almost feared the upcoming meeting with her father. Ah, Hinata, Jiraiya-sensei, I heard the two of you arrived just recently and that Tsunade-sama was accompanying you, said Hiyashi, greeting the two of them at the gate of their compound. I trust everything went smoothly. I hope the training went well as well. Hiyashi looked down at Hinata, who looked at the ground and away from her father's attention. This indicated that something was wrong. Actually, I was hoping we could discuss that in private, said Jiraiya. Now Hiyashi was curious. Did something happen? Or did Hinata not do well in the training? Hiyashi guided them into his study, with Hinata silently following, looking for some way to get out of this. Unfortunately, nothing was going to save her. So is something wrong? Did something happen? Or did Hinata not progress as far as I had expected? Asked Hiyashi. Or those scrolls too much for her? Actually, the funny thing is, those scrolls were completely useless, said Jiraiya, trying to lighten the mood in the room. I hate to say it, but she didn't even have the opportunity to look at them. Hiyashi shot a look of disappointment at his daughter. So I am to understand that her training in the earth element was a complete failure, said a disappointed Hiyashi. Hinata retreated into herself even more. Sadly, that is the case. She can't use the earth element, stated Jiraiya. Hinata, from what I have heard, I am extremely disappointed in you. I expected you to at least be able to use a basic earth jutsu upon return. Explain yourself, scolded Hiyashi. Hinata was about ready to burst into tears. It's me because my element. Well it's God not earth, she said. Not earth? Asked Hiyashi, raising an eyebrow at her. Well, then what element do you have? Wind, she said as Hiyashi's eyes grew in shock. Just like her mother, he thought, regaining himself. Hinata was preparing herself for the scolding of a lifetime for failing her father. I see, then tell me, how did your training in the wind element go? I would say the two of them progressed very far in the wind element. They got through the first 2 exercises in a matter of 3 weeks, about a month faster than your old teammate, said Jiraiya. I see. Hiyashi said, thinking for a moment. I must say that I'm impressed then, Hinata. The wind element is a difficult one to master. And sensei, you said the 2 of them, does that mean Naruto has? Hinata's head picked up at her father's compliment. Yes, both of them have the wind element, which is rather surprising considering how rare it is, explained Jiraiya. Father, you're not disappointed with me? Asked a slightly confused Hinata. Hiyashi shook his head. No I am not. This is something we can't control, and if I remember correctly sensei, you wanted me to have a wind element, said Hiyashi, remembering what Jiraiya had said back in the day. I have also seen the value in combining the wind element with the gentle fist. Unfortunately, the elders I am not so sure about. Oh, about that, said Jiraiya, remembering that one little piece of information from the trip regarding the elders. Hiyashi was now interested as to what Jiraiya was about to say. Let's just say Hinata has known about Naruto's, well, air condition. You don't mean, said Hiyashi, as Jiraiya nodded his head. How did she find out? The funny thing about that is apparently one of the elders told her about it when she was 8 inches, said Jiraiya. Ideas were flowing through Hiyashi's head. One of the elders had broken the Sandime's law. He had been looking for stuff like this to use against them. Hinata, who is it? Asked Hiyashi, wanting to get names. It was Iro, said Hinata. Iro was the eldest and strictest of the 3 elders, and now Hiyashi had something on him that could one day be used against him, should he get out of line again. Father, what's going to happen now? Asked a concerned Hinata. She wasn't only concerned for how he was going to deal with her, but also how he was going to handle the elders. Sensei, you said she got past the first 2 exercises for wind manipulation. Jiraiya nodded. We finished that almost a week ago, but I felt that her and Naruto were better off learning the next exercise from Asuma. Also Hiyashi, it appears as if she has some natural talent with the wind element. What do you mean? Asked Hiyashi. You've seen her protection of the 8 trigrams, right? Asked Jiraiya. Hiyashi nodded, seeing it during the final round. That move is a wind-style ability. She subconsciously mixed in the wind chakra while developing that, giving it its power. I see, so that's why it was so different, said Hiyashi, impressed by what Hinata had actually managed to create. He thought for a little and then turned to Hinata. Hinata, I am afraid the Hyuga teachings will only work to a limited extent for you now. But what am I to do? If your instruction doesn't help, then how am I supposed to make you proud? Asked Hinata. I don't know. A few days ago, Neji mentioned to me that something was got off about your gentle fist, explained Hiyashi. I now see why. You are much more like your mother than I had initially thought. Mom. What about her? This was one of the few times she had ever heard Hiyashi refer to her mother. When she died, shortly after giving birth to Hanabi, Hiyashi was devastated and didn't talk about her much. Hinata, like you, your mother had wind chakra. I am happy to say this, you are constantly becoming more and more like your mother. Don't ever change that. Hiyashi and Hinata smiled at each other, having a nice father-daughter moment there. Hinata, from now on, you will be dividing your training between training in the gentle fist with me, training your wind element, in a final training exercise. Final training exercise? She asked. Yes, the gentle fist won't do much use for you. With that, you need to begin to create a derivative style of the gentle fist that suits you. I know it will be difficult and I will be here to help you as much as possible, but it is now something that you will have to do if you are to have any hope against the elders in a few years, said Hiyashi. Don't worry, you'll be fine. I have faith in you. Now, why don't you go meet with Neji? He's been wanting to see your progress. I have some business I need to discuss with my sensei. Hinata bowed and left the study. As the door closed, Hiyashi activated the privacy seals around the room. How is the progress on the seal coming? Hiyashi asked Jiraiya. Flashback. It was the day after their fight with Orochimaru and Jiraiya finally had a chance to take a look at the caged bird seal provided to him by Hiyashi. What the hell is this? He said upon his initial inspection of the seal. After examining the scroll further, he was growing more and more disgusted with the seal. It was worse than he had imagined. End flashback. It's going to be difficult finding a way to remove it, admitted Jiraiya. The inner workings of the seal are much more complex than I had thought. It's so entwined with the brain that most removal methods that I know would shred the brain to pieces within the first stages of the process. Then it is as I feared. Do you think you will be able to find a way to remove it? Asked Hiyashi. Possibly. But it will take time to figure out how to unravel the seal from the bearer's brain, said Jiraiya. Fine. You are the best hope there is of finding a way to remove it, and if there is anything that you require, I'll supply it to you, offered Hiyashi. Okay, at some point in time, once I am able to understand this seal more, I may need to examine a branded Hyuga, said Jiraiya. So long as the examination will not kill them, I have someone in mind, said Hiyashi. Jiraiya knew who this was. Neji. The following day, Tsunade was sitting in her office, going over the Chunin exam notes left by her predecessor and a few of the judges. Analyzing each of the Konoha contestants, it was clear that most of them had the skills required to be a Chunin, but only 2 individuals stuck out as being ready to fulfill the duties associated with the rank of Chunin: Shikamaru Nara and Haku Yuki. Unlike the rest of the field, both candidates showed an uncanny ability to adapt to the changing conditions of battle. Tsunade was extremely surprised that Nara had even made it to the final round at such a young age. Normally, it wasn't until they were 15 to 16 before they were finally forced to put forth the effort. Haku was another surprise to her. Before leaving the village, the Yuki clan and the Hyoten did not exist in the village, yet Haku was here. Upon further examination of the records, Tsunade saw something even more surprising. Zabuza Momoichi was a registered ninja of this village. The reason why he was a ninja of this village was even more surprising. She would have to meet personally with him. However, her schedule was already filling up and the advisors and clan heads had been pushing her to decide the results of the Chunin exam. Based on the data collected from a single round of fights, Tsunade made her decision, calling in Shikamaru and Haku and awarding them their promotion to Chunin rank. The reactions from the two were completely different. On one hand, Shikamaru was hoping that by forfeiting the first match, he wouldn't be considered for a promotion. He just wanted to be an ordinary ninja, and here he was, reaching the rank of Chunin by age 12. There was only one word to describe this: troublesome. Later that day, Sasuke was discharged from the hospital after waking the previous day from the almost comatose state Itachi left him in after using the Tsukuyomi on him. Walking from the hospital to Training Ground 7, where Kakashi had called a team meeting, there were a few questions echoing in his head as he thought about his defeat at the hands of Itachi. Why was there still such a difference in their skill? Why was Itachi interested in Naruto? Where could he get more power so that the next time he saw Itachi, he would be able to kill that man? Team 7 arrived at the training ground. Kakashi's intention was to discuss the new Hokage Tsunade, which kept Haku and Sakura's interest for a little. Naruto was easily distracted as he had just spent practically the last 2 weeks with her. Sasuke was busy brooding. Kakashi-sensei, is that a Chunin vest Haku has on? Asked Sakura, noticing Haku's slight change in attire. Yes, it appears as if Haku has made Chunin, said Kakahi. Wait, who else got Chunin? Asked Naruto, hoping that Tsunade chose to promote him as well. Just me and Shikamaru Nara, replied Haku. What? Shikamaru? The rest of the team said in unison, surprised that Shikamaru had actually managed to get promoted and they didn't. Haku had to explain that he wasn't really sure on the promotion process, but said that Tsunade promoted them based on the notes left by the judges in the third before invasion began. Naruto would have to have a word with Tsunade Bachan later on why he didn't get promoted. Naruto spent the next few minutes complaining that he should have gotten promoted as well. After all, he had been training extensively for the past few weeks. Exactly what kind of training, Dobi? Asked Sasuke. Chakra nature manipulation, I think is what Pervy Sage called it, replied Naruto. This caught the attention of everyone on the team. Chakra nature manipulation was something that usually wasn't taught until one became a Chunin, not to mention that was a type of training that Sasuke thought that only he had gone through, and now Naruto had done it as well. Chakra nature manipulation? Asked Sakura. She was smart, but this wasn't something that was taught in the academy in depth as they didn't want the students rushing into this particular type of training. Kakashi then had to explain in depth the 5 different elements, explaining how everyone had at least one elemental affinity that was strong and that some people had 2, using Sasuke as an example as he had both a lightning and fire nature to his chakra. Wait, so then what nature does Naruto's chakra have? Wind, said Naruto, smiling a bit. This surprised Kakashi as he explained that wind was a rather rare affinity. Hey Kakashi-sensei, speaking of which, how does wind match up against Sasuke Tem here? Sasuke scoffed at the comment. Well, actually I'm glad that you mention it. You see, each element has a certain element that they are strong against and a certain element that they are weak against. You have a wind element, which would give you an advantage over Sasuke's lightning because wind acts as a natural insulator, explained Kakashi. Naruto cheered and even rubbed it in a brooding Sasuke's face. Don't get too excited Naruto, I said Sasuke has 2 elements with the second of his, fire, actually being the element that wind is at a disadvantage against. Now it was Naruto's turn to pout. Wind fans the flames, making them more powerful. This caught Sasuke's attention. What do you mean makes the flames more powerful? I thought the element that has the advantage cancels out the other, he asked. Yes, well that is normally the case, but the relationship between wind and fire is special. Think, if you fan a fire, it only becomes bigger, explained Kakashi. Team 7 got this analogy. For this case, let's say Naruto were to use a wind jutsu to try and cancel out a fire jutsu of yours. Most likely he would only make the flames more powerful and he would be hit with a stronger fire. The same goes for using fire in conjunction with wind. Now, if the two of you are facing an opponent, and you use a fire jutsu while Naruto uses a wind jutsu, he will make your attack stronger. This interested Sasuke. Perhaps the Dobi wasn't so useless after all. Hey Kakashi-sensei, what about Haku's ice style? What category does that fit into? Asked Naruto. Ah, now there is an interesting point. Care to explain Haku? Said Kakashi. Ice style doesn't fit into any of the 5 categories. In fact it is a combination of 2 elements, wind and water, explained Haku. Combination of wind and water. Wait, does that mean that if I learn water I could use ice style? Asked Naruto. No. The ability to combine 2 different nature chakras into a new nature is extremely rare and it is considered a blood limit. The Shadaime's wood style was another example, explained Kakashi. This is something that is passed down through a specific lineage, such as Sasuke's Sharingan or the Hyuga's Byakugan. Also, not even the Sharingan can copy jutsus produced from a blood limit, so I can't copy Haku's Hyoten. Alright, but then does that mean Haku can use wind as well? I know he can use water, but can he use wind? Asked Naruto. I can, but I've only trained my wind chakra to an extent where I can use ice-natured chakra. I've really only focused mainly on my Hyoten, and to some extent the Suiden, explained Haku. That brings me to my next question Naruto. Normally the first exercise, cutting the leaf, would take months to complete, yet Jiraiya informed me that you can already use a wind jutsu. How did you complete the first 2 phases in a matter of weeks? Asked Kakashi. Naruto smiled. Shadow clones. I see. It looks like you've discovered the real purpose behind the shadow clone technique, said Kakashi. Real purpose? Asked Sasuke. What was this, real purpose, and how did it give Naruto such good results? He had to know. Kakashi explained that shadow clones transferred the memories and experience back to the original upon being dispelled. This resulted in the experiences from training being multiplied by the number of clones created. This was just what he needed. Fortunately, Naruto had the Shadow Clone Jutsu, and he had the Sharingan. All he had to do was have his Sharingan active the next time Naruto used his Shadow Clones and he would be able to copy the Jutsu. Fortunately, Naruto was about to do just that. Sasuke hurried to activate his Sharingan as Naruto used his Shadow Clone Jutsu to use them to show the results of using them. Sasuke had it, the tool that would help him with his training. He made the same hand seal Naruto and mimicked the chakra flow that his Sharingan picked up with Naruto. Kakashi's uncovered eyebrow rose when he saw what Sasuke was trying to do. Shadow Clone Jutsu, shouted Sasuke as 5 Sasuke clones popped into existence. Naruto began freaking out. What? How the hell can you use the Shadow Clone Jutsu? He shouted at Sasuke. On the other hand, Sakura was fawning over the fact that there were now 6 Sasukes in front of her. I was wondering when you would finally copy the jutsu from Naruto, said Kakashi. What? You mean he copied me? Shouted Naruto. Why? You got a problem with that Dobi? Asked all 6 Sasukes in unison. It was at this time where Naruto would get the last laugh as Sasuke began to feel the chakra drain from using the jutsu. The clones dispelled and Sasuke fell to his knees, panting with Sakura running to his side. Now you also see why it's a Jonin-level technique. The amount of chakra it uses is very large. Although I'm impressed you were able to make 5 right off the bat like that, said Kakashi, smiling at Sasuke's foolishness. Kakashi-sensei, then how come Naruto can make so many? Asked Sakura, helping Sasuke to find his feet. Because, if there is one place Naruto had the 2 of you beat, it's in the amount of chakra he has, said Kakashi. What? Really? How much does Naruto have? She asked again. Kakashi thought for a second. At this point in time, about 50x more than I do and almost 100x more than Sasuke, explained Kakashi. What? The rest of Team 7 said, while Naruto just smiled. How? Kakashi explained that it was the fox that allowed Naruto's chakra to develop to the extent that it was at. This was an acceptable answer to them as they were well aware that the Kyuubi itself was a being of immense chakra. While their meeting came to an end, there was one thing left that Sakura wanted to know. There was a reason it wasn't taught at the academy, and this was pretty much it. Kakashi-sensei, so what is my element? She asked. Kakashi's head dropped. He had been hoping to get out of this. Kakashi sighed and handed her a piece of chakra litmus paper. He explained to her how the paper works and used the remaining members of Team 7 as an example. Sakura did as she was instructed and channeled the chakra into her paper. The paper burst into flames, indicating she had the fire element. The meeting came to an end and Team 7 was dismissed. As Naruto turned to walk away, he was stopped by Sasuke. There was one more thing Sasuke needed to know. Naruto, why was Itachi after you? He asked in a demanding tone, wanting to know why Itachi had no interest in him. Sakura wasn't entirely sure what Sasuke was talking about. In fact, she didn't even know who this Itachi was. Sasuke, Itachi is your brother, right? The one who you want to kill? Asked Naruto. It finally came to Sakura. Itachi was that man. The one he said he lived to kill when the team met for the very first time with Kakashi-sensei. Yeah, that's right, said Sasuke coldly. Why was he interested in you? I don't know why they want him, but they were actually after Kurama, said Naruto. The Kyuubi. Why would he want the Kyuubi? Asked Sasuke. I don't know exactly why they want it, but apparently he's part of an organization known as Akatsuki and they are after the Kyuubi, said Naruto. At least that's what Pervy Sage told me. This made sense to Sasuke. If there was one thing he knew was that if Itachi ever got his hands on the Kyuubi, then there would be no chance of him defeating Itachi. As such, he would have to get stronger to ensure that didn't happen. He had a few things on his to-do list, including a summoning contract that had been on his mind ever since Naruto summoned Gamabunta to help them fight Gaara. He had an idea on where he was going to get one, and fortunately, he had to make a trip there in a few days. Unfortunately for the rest of the senseis of the Konoha 13, their teams were also on the same discussion of elemental chakra manipulation. Hinata told her team about what she had been working on, and Kiba immediately began asking Kurenai about chakra nature manipulation until finally he convinced her to help them find out what their elements were. After all was said and done, Kiba had a fire element and Shino had an earth element. Neji had told Tenten about the training that he had been doing with Hiashi. Learning earth chakra manipulation was common with most Hyuga his age. As a result, Tenten's constant nagging forced Guy's hand and he decided to test her element as well. After explaining what each element was, Tenten was really hoping for the wind element as that would go hand in hand with her use of weapons. Now, 2 wind users within a few years was extremely rare for Konoha, but 3 would have just been unbelievable. Unfortunately for Tenten, she did not have a wind element. However, the lightning element she had was a good second choice as she would eventually be able to use it to increase the piercing power of her weapons. As for Team 10, now that Shikamaru was a Chunin, it was actually time for him to learn elemental manipulation. Unfortunately for Asuma, once Ino realized that Sakura had found out what her element was, it was only a matter of time before Ino came begging Asuma to help her determine hers. After some begging from Ino, he finally gave in. Shikamaru, who was supposed to be the only one to learn about this, ended up with a fire nature to his chakra, which suited him rather well. Fire created light and light created shadows. This would work out perfectly for him. Choji found out that he had earth-natured chakra, which was common amongst the Akamaiki clan. Ino discovered she had a water nature to her chakra. Upon realizing that she had the elemental advantage over Sakura, there was no way she would let Sakura hear the last of this one. For the senseis of the Konoha 13, this was exactly what they were hoping to avoid. Sasuke, Haku, Neji, and Hinata should have known because of their clans, and Shikamaru because he was a Chunin, but everyone else should not have known until they were at least Chunin. Unfortunately, now they were stuck with teams begging them to help them in their elemental chakra nature training. It was the day of September 20th. The day after the hype of elemental chakra manipulation, and the day that Tsunade was to be inaugurated as the Godime Hokage of the village hidden in the leaves. Tsunade stood atop the Hokage tower with the entire village in the square below, cheering her on. She had on the ceremonial Hokage robes and the Hokage hat. Naruto stood down below with his team. That would definitely be him one day, up there being inaugurated as the Hokage and cheered on by the entire village. From this day forth, I swear to lead and protect Konohamagakure with my very life as the Godime Hokage, announced Tsunade as the entire village let out a big cheer. hoping I did the meetings between Hiyashi, Hinata, and Jiraiya and the one with Team 7 correctly. Also, even though everyone knows their elemental affinity, doesn't mean I'm going to be giving them elemental jutsu. Until they become Chunin, most people won't be learning chakra naore manipulation. Shikamaru will begin his training, but then again he is actually ready for this being a Chunin. Regarding who I made Chunin, Shikamaru obviously made Chunin in canon. I made Haku a Chunin as well, given that he does in fact have the abilities of a good tactician. Also, a few of the village elders may have helped push the decision in favor of him being a Chunin, trying to secure the last known bearer of the Hyoten blood limit to the village. Haku will still remain with Team 7, but he will also be going off on his own missions as well now. Special Clans of Konoha, the Hyuga clan. Alright, so I figured I would start detailing how I would handle some of the clans in Konoha within this fanfiction. I will start with the Hyuga clan, as they have seen the most exposure, and I will be involving a few more individuals of the clan in later chapters. As you know, the Hyuga's blood limit is the Byakugan. The Byakugan is one of the 3 great dojutsu. This dojutsu gives the wielder an increased sense of vision, allowing them to see for many kilometers in a single direction or providing them with a nearly 360-degree field of vision within approximately a 50 meters radius. The Byakugan also grants a form of X-ray vision, allowing the bearer to see through most solid objects. The third and greatest ability of the Byakugan is the ability to see the flow of chakra in an opponent's chakra network with remarkable clarity. This makes their fighting style, the Gentle Fist, extremely effective. The Hyuga clan is comprised of mainly taijutsu using shinobi, although some, especially the branch family members, tend to employ ninjutsu as well. The most common chakra nature amongst the Hyuga clan is earth. However, there are some individuals, such as Hinata, who don't have earth-natured chakra. The earth element can even be seen in their Gentle Fist style of fighting, which is seen as strong, forceful, and strict. Like the earth blocks the flow of water in a river, the Gentle Fist blocks the flow of chakra within the body. The Hyuga clan is divided up into 2 main classifications of families, the main branch and the side branch. For the purposes of this story, the main branch will consist of 3 families. The head family of the main branch is the family in which Hiyashi, Hinata, and Hanabi fit into. It is from this family that the clan head comes from. The elders from each of the 3 families make up the clan council. The head family consists of Harabi, Hiyashi, Hinata, and Hanabi. The second family of the main branch consists of Moriko, Duranji, and Shini. The final family in the main branch consists of Iro, Kenjo, Shinji, and Kanumi. The oldest members in each family form the council. In each family, when the eldest child reaches the age of 17, they are tried by the clan head and the council to determine if they are suited to one day assume the role that they were meant to play in the clan. Should they pass, the younger of the siblings is branded into a branch family. However, should it be deemed that the younger of the siblings is more fit for such a position, then the eldest will be branded and the younger child will be instated as the heir of that family. The duties of the clan head and elders are divided as such. The clan head is in charge of most of the affairs, both internal and external. The elders serve as more of an advisory council, however, they are the body in charge of placing the caged bird seal on the branch members. They also hold some minor privileges in the clan, but can be overridden by the clan head in most cases. Every other member of the Hyuga clan that is not a member of the main branch is a member of the side branch. Members include Neji, Ko, and many others. It is the duty of the side branch to protect and serve the main branch. As such, the main branch has branded the branch family with the caged bird seal, which gives the main branch the power of absolute fear of death over the branch family. With a simple hand seal, a main family member can activate the seal, causing excruciating pain, neurological damage, and if active long enough, death to the targeted branch member. The caged bird seal is nearly impossible to remove, with the only known way to get rid of it is death. Jiraiya is currently looking into a way to remove it, but the seal is so entwined in the branch member's brain that tampering with the seal even the slightest bit will most likely kill said person. Because of the virtual enslavement of the side branch, this has led to a growing rift between the 2 parts of the clan. The only members of the main branch that the branch families truly respect are Hinata, because she has always shown kindness and respect towards them. her sister Hanabi, and Hiyashi to a lesser extent, due to his efforts to keep the stricter elders in line from exerting their powers as main branch members unjustly on the branch members. Despite this rift, the Hyuga clan is currently the strongest clan in Konohagakure. Before the Uchiha massacre, a major rivalry existed between the two clans for superiority in the village. However, that has changed and the Hyuga are unmistakably the strongest clan in Konoha. A few days have passed as Sasuke was finally getting the hang of using shadow clones for training purposes. This was just what he needed. Despite only being able to use 4 clones for the basic exercises and lower-level jutsu, and no more than 2 for the higher-level jutsu and chidori, the results were just what he had been looking for. He found the most use for training with them when he went to practice his weapon usage or taijutsu, as the memories of how he moved and the slight adjustments he made came to him. He also knew that when it came time to work on a new jutsu, that they would shorten the time that he would be required to take to learn the jutsu. Sasuke was wandering through town, looking for his teammates the other day. He had asked Sasuke about the details about obtaining and summoning contract and that he was going to try to obtain the cat summoning contract. This contract was something that was passed throughout the Uchiha clan, but only to those who completed a certain task. For Sasuke, his task was to collect the paw prints of numerous cats. Itachi had started him on this journey, but Sasuke stopped collecting the paw prints with only 2 left to go when Itachi betrayed the village and murdered the entire clan. Until recently, the cat contract was something Sasuke really wanted as it reminded him too much of Itachi. However, with the recent display of power that Naruto had showed with his own contract, Sasuke's mind had changed. Now he wanted the contract. The 2 prints he had left to collect after their battle with the Shukakau were Matatabi, the Nibi, and Nekomata, the boss of the ninja cat underworld. To him, it was almost like fate was shining down on him to complete the task and get the contract. In fact, he had met Yugito, the Jinchuriki of the Nibi, during the exams, and after a quick, yet intense, sparring match after the whole ordeal with the finals was concluded, she and Matabi agreed to give Sasuke the Nibi paw print. As of now, he only had to collect the paw print of the cat boss, Nekomata. After some convincing by Sasuke that he was ready for a summoning contract, Kakashi allowed him to go. However, since this was outside the village, it would have to be on either a mission or clan business and he would have to take his team with him. Thankfully, he had to meet with Nekoba, an old woman who lived in an abandoned city in the south of the Land of Fire. Nekoba was an old cat lady and friend of the Uchiha clan. She was also the primary supplier of ninja tools to the Uchiha, giving Sasuke his excuse to pursue the contract. With her lived Denka and Hina, 2 ninja cats. These 2 were the ones who initially issued the task to Sasuke, and it was they that kept the cat summoning contract. After his long hiatus from collecting paw prints, Sasuke was finally determined to complete the collection and earn the contract. At this time, Hiku was on a mission, now being a chunin. He still didn't understand why only those 2 got promoted, but then again, his match was stopped in the middle by a giant snake rampaging through the village. Sakura was the one he was looking for as she was the harder of the 2 to find. Naruto, on the other hand, would most likely be one of 2 places, the ramen shop or the training grounds. After about 1 hour 45 minutes, a frustrated Sasuke finally found Sakura. She was hanging around Ino's shop, spreading gossip when she should have been training. Now for Naruto. Thankfully for Sasuke, Naruto was at the training grounds. At least someone was doing something useful. Futten. Gale Palm, he shouted, practicing his new jutsu. It was at this time that Sasuke and Sakura came on scene. Sasuke saw the jutsu coming and was able to duck behind a tree to avoid the gust of wind. Sakura, on the other hand, didn't quite have the reflexes and was knocked flat on her back. As a result, she began trying to beat Naruto as she always did when he did something stupid, but was stopped by Sasuke. In Naruto's defense, they had walked in on him unexpectedly. Sakura wasn't willing to argue with Sasuke. After a quick explanation as to why they were going, the 3 reported to the Hokage tower. They informed the Hokage of their intentions, to retrieve the necessary supplies to restock the Uchiha supply and to obtain the cat contract. If it hadn't been for a long day of paperwork, Tsunade would have questioned Sasuke's decision to face Nekomata. The paperwork was already killing her as the stuff that she had yet to catch up on from the previous weeks before she came back to the village just kept piling up. She was in no mood for arguing with a hot-headed Uchiha. In fact, the only thing she needed right now was a drink and a long nap. After about a day's journey, the trio of Leaf Genin found themselves at an abandoned town in the home of Nekoba and her granddaughter Tamaki. Upon entering the old lady's shop, Sasuke was confronted by two cats, Denka and Hina. To pass, they asked for a treat. Sakura was a little freaked out by a talking cat, but it was no different than a talking toad to Naruto. Sasuke knew how to deal with them and pulled out a tube of catnip from his pocket. The two ninja cats allowed the trio to pass. Sasuke, is that you? Said Nekoba, taking a look at Sasuke. She hadn't seen him since after that dreadful night almost 3 years ago. She was sitting on the floor, sipping some tea and playing with about a dozen regular cats around her. After all these years, what finally brings you here? Sasuke, said an excited girl, about the same age as the three genin. She wore an orange sleeveless shirt and had shoulder-length brown hair, matching the color of her eyes. Taking a look at Sasuke, the girl blushed a little. This caught Sakura's eye and inner Sakura began flipping out. Hello Tamaki, greeted Sasuke. He then turned back to Nekoba. I'm surprised you are still in this place. The town is abandoned. Yes, well this place has always been a good home to me and I have nowhere else to go, replied the old cat woman. You could always come to Konoha, he replied. So Sasuke, what brings you here? Asked Tamaki, looking at him while inner Sakura began to flip out even more. I've come to finish my task, he said, pulling out a book. Ah, your Pa encyclopedia, said Denka, opening the book. I was hoping you would come around to completing it one day. Let's see here. Wow, I'm impressed you got the Nibi's print. Looks like all you need is. What is it he needs? Asked Sakura, curious to the ninja cat's paws. He needs Nekomata's paw print, explained Denka as Tamaki gasped slightly. Nekomata, replied Sakura. Yes, he's the boss of the cat underground and an extremely strong foe. It will be hard to even get near him, let alone getting his paw print, explained Denka. So what's so special about getting a paw print? Why would this Nekomata make such a big deal about it? Asked Sakura. Because Pinky, to a cat, giving out our paw print is just as bad and just as embarrassing as if you had a picture taken of you naked, explained Hina. We cats value our cleverness and someone having our paw print is a sign that we've been outsmarted. It's extremely degrading. Sakura got the analogy. She of all people, wouldn't want a picture taken of her naked. So then why does Sasuke need to collect these paw prints? She asked. It's so that I can get a summoning contract, said Sasuke. Summoning contract? Asked Sakura. Yeah, it gives you the ability to summon a creature to your side to aid you in battle, explained Naruto, already familiar with summoning contracts. I guess it's like the contract I signed with the toads, only this one is for cats. What? You have a summoning contract? Asked Sakura, completely surprised. She did not see the giant toad Naruto summoned to save her and as such, she didn't know he had one. Even Naruto has a summoning contract, thought a depressed Sakura. Then we'll just have to find one as well. One that is stronger than Naruto and Sasuke's. Then Sasuke will notice us, declared inner Sakura. So Sasuke needs to go find this Nekomata cat, defeat him, and get his paw print. Piece of cake, said Sakura. It's not that simple. Besides the Nibi, Nekomata is the strongest of the ninja cats. Not to mention, you need to sneak into his heavily guarded fortress, explained Denka. Here, you'll need these, said Tamaki, handing everyone a pair of cat ears on a headband. He also explained to the group the location of Nekomata's fortress and that those ears would be enough of a disguise to get them inside. Team 7 made their way to the south of the Fire Country, near the border of the Land of Rivers, and the coastal location of Nekomata's fortress. Standing on a cliff overlooking the fortress, Sasuke explained their mission, to obtain a paw print of the boss of the ninja cats, Nekomata. With their mission set, the team placed the cat ear headbands on their head. Naruto and Sasuke both doubted if this would actually work. After all, their disguise only consisted of 2 ears. Sakura on the other hand was thinking on how cute she looked with the cat ears on, causing the 2 boys on the team to doubt their disguise even more. Nonetheless, Team 7 approached the door to the fortress to find 2 larger ninja cats standing guard. The 2 guards gave them a suspicious look and Naruto was preparing for a fight. I don't think I've seen you two around here before, questioned one of the guards. Well, you see we are kind of new, said Sasuke, trying to bluff their way through. The guards took a look over the three ninja cats standing in front of them, worrying Sasuke that their disguise was failing. Well then, if you're new here, you know what that means, said the guards, reaching for their weapons. Team 7 braced themselves, fearing that their disguise had failed. The guards flipped a button on the bottom of their weapons and a feathery tail popped out of the tip of the weapons. Team 7 nearly faltered. Is everything alright? Asked one of the guards, as Sasuke motioned to the team to just play along. Team 7 got into cat mode, and began playing with the toys the guards had given them until the guards hustled them into the fortress. They still weren't sure what had happened, but their disguise had actually worked. The team split up, hoping to find Nekomata's location within the fortress. For Sasuke, he was intending to find Nekomata. He didn't mention it, but he was figuring Naruto would eventually mess something up and draw the attention of the entire fortress, giving him a clear shot towards Nekomata. On the other hand, he was actually relying on Sakura to be able to pick up some information. Wandering around the castle, Sakura found her way into a restaurant within the fortress. Sitting down at the bar, the bartender and another cat in the area took notice to her presence. In their eyes, she was a pink-haired female feline and a rather attractive one. The bartender handed her a complimentary drink and a can of tuna-flavored cat food while the other cat sat down next to her and ordered the same thing. After a few moments, waiting for his drink, the patron cat actually began flirting with her. However, once the food arrived, it appeared as if he was much more interested in the food in front of him than the female cat sitting next to him. Sakura used this time to begin questioning him about the whereabouts of Nekomata, even using the food that she had refused to touch to sweeten the deal. Eventually, the patron let it slip that Nekomata could be found in the highest part of the fortress. Sakura took her leave while the cat was too focused on finishing the extra meal to notice her leaving. Naruto wasn't exactly sure where he was, but wandering around the castle, he found himself in a room where a few cats were sitting around a table playing poker. One of the cats motioned for him to join, but Naruto stated that he didn't have anything to wager. One of the cats, who had a rather large stack of chips, offered Naruto a few chips to get him started, stating that all he had to do was pay him back once he won some chips of his own. Naruto agreed and sat down at the table, joining their game. Since the night in the casino with Tsunade, Naruto had been taught by her the rules and different hands of the games, and now he wasn't completely oblivious to what was going around him. Naruto won the first hand, and the second, and even the third, surprising the cats with his lucky streak. Hey, you're not half bad. I haven't seen you around before, are you new? Asked one of the cats. Yeah, I actually just got here, mentioned Naruto. Another cat picked up on something else about Naruto. Hey, you smell kind of funny. Almost fox-ish, said the cat. Cats and foxes weren't exactly the best of friends, although their relationship was better than that of cats and dogs, or cats and rodents. Did you manage to beat one up on your way here? Naruto let out a hollow laugh, as this comment caught Kurama's attention. Yeah, come on, tell us how you beat up one of those stupid animals, mentioned another cat. The questions from the remaining cats just kept pouring in and Kurama's patience was drawing thin. Kid, I know you're trying to help your friend, but we can at least smack a few of these fish brains around while we are waiting on your friend to finish up, said Kurama, wanting desperately to shut these cats up. So come on, how did it go? Asked a cat again. Not sure what to say, Naruto just brushed the top of his head as he would normally do in a situation like this. However, this time Naruto had on the cat ears and doing so caused them to slip off his head. The cats stared wide-eyed at the now revealed ninja. Huh, is something wrong? Asked Naruto, looking at the cats. Finally things are going to get fun, said the Kyuubi. Sakura had managed to meet up with Sasuke and had revealed the location of Nekomata. Good, now all we need is for Naruto to create some sort of distraction, said Sasuke. Right on K, the alarms in the compound began to sound and they thought that they heard a cat cry out, "Human." This was what they were waiting for as Sasuke and Sakura slipped past the guards who were rushing to where Naruto was. The two found their way up the stairs, leading to a door that was guarded again by two cat guards. Hey you two. Apparently there is a human in the complex, shouldn't you be helping out? Asked one of the guards. Sasuke and Sakura looked at one another and nodded. Cherry Blossom Blizzard, whispered Sakura as the two guards were enveloped in her genjutsu. Sasuke used this time to knock them out and tie them up, clearing their way to Nekomata. They opened the door, stepping into a rather large room with a large cat figure sitting behind a screen at the other end of the room. Shadow Clone Jutsu, shouted Naruto as he was working to fend off wave after wave of ninja cats coming after him. Suddenly, Naruto felt a few small bursts of demon chakra flood his system. "Hey, what are you doing?" "I'm actually doing fine here," asked Naruto to the demon fox inside him. "These furballs insult me and my kind and you expect me to just sit aside, kid," explained Kurama. "UHG, fair enough," said Naruto as even more chakra flowed into him. It wasn't enough to induce the fox cloak, but it was enough to cause Naruto to take on a few fox-like features and enhanced senses. Needless to say, the ninja cats weren't too much of a match for the demon-powered blonde. "Ah, Sasuke Uchiha. Grandma has been telling me so much about you. I was wondering if you would finally show," said the giant cat from behind the shade. "I know why you're here and I'm sorry to say but I will not be giving you my paw print." "That's fine by me. Just means I'll have to beat you and take it myself," replied Sasuke. He then turned to Sakura. "Let me do this on my own. I don't need help to beat this guy." "But Sasuke, let me," replied Sakura. "No. Itachi beat him years ago and now I need to do the same. If I can't, then how am I supposed to catch up to him?" replied Sasuke. Sakura could say any more as Sasuke began his battle. Nekomata stepped out from his shroud to face his opponent. Looking at the cat boss, he was about TVE size of a two-story building with white fur that had black markings over it. His tail was split at the end, making it appear as if he had two tails, although the tails fused into one about halfway down. The room grew dark as the two began and shadows of cats began to dart towards Sasuke. Not knowing what was going on, the first cat made contact with Sasuke and left a deep scratch in his left arm. The second cat was running towards Sasuke and he responded by firing a great fireball jutsu at the shadow cat. Sasuke's attack didn't help as the cat just jumped through the fireball and landed another blow on his left arm, just above the elbow. Sasuke realized that this had to be genjutsu if his ninjutsu had no effect on the shadow cat. He activated his Sharingan and it quickly cut through the effects of the genjutsu. The scratches on his arm dissipated along with the genjutsu that Nekomata had cast. "Ah, the Sharingan," commented the giant cat. "It has been a while since I've seen it, but the Sharingan won't do you much good if your body can't keep up with me." With that, Nekomata took off after Sasuke, darting towards him at high speeds. Sasuke's Sharingan could keep up with the cat's movements, but Sasuke realized that he was still lacking some of the speed and agility that would be required to fully dodge the cat's attacks. He was able to dodge the attack to a point where he took minimal damage, but was still sent flying halfway across the room. Recovering quickly, Sasuke made his charge towards the cat boss. The cat swung his claws at Sasuke, forcing him to dodge by jumping upwards onto the ceiling. Nekomata took his tail and lashed out at Sasuke while he was clinging to the ceiling using his chakra, throwing him across the room. "Sasuke!" shouted Sakura and Naruto, who had just arrived at the cat boss's room after finishing up the horde of cats in the floors below. "Stay out of this. I've got everything under control," said Sasuke as he struggled to his feet. Nekomata laughed. "You think you can win? You can barely stand on his feet," taunted the cat. "Your brother could do better than you. Don't compare me to Itachi," shouted Sasuke, making a quick hand sign. "Explode." As Sasuke said that, a few explosive tags on the ceiling exploded, causing a pile of rubble to collapse on top of Nekomata, trapping him underneath. While Sasuke was clinging onto the ceiling, he had set a few explosive tags before being flung off. With the cat boss down, Sasuke took out a rather large scroll to collect his prize. Nekomata's paw print. The trio set out to leave the room. Before they could exit, they heard a laugh come from the cat just behind them. "Haha, smart and clever, just like your brother," said the cat. Team 7 prepared for round 2. "Don't worry, the fight is over, Sasuke. I believe this is actually what you came for." Nekomata pulled himself out of the rubble and over to his seat. He reached inside and pulled out a rather large scroll that Naruto recognized as it was similar to the scroll that Jiraiya had given him. "Wait, is this?" asked Sasuke. "Yes. This is the cat summoning scroll," commented Nekomata. "You have proven that you are clever and strong. Just like us cats, and as such, I will offer you our contract. Sasuke nodded, accepting the contract. Like Naruto and the Toad contract, Sasuke signed his name in blood on the contract, and performed the summoning jutsu. When the smoke cleared, Hina and Denka sat in front of him. "Well, it looks like you accomplished what you set out to do," said Hina. "I hope you use our contract wisely." After some more chatting amongst the cats, Team 7 set out with their mission accomplished. The next morning, Kakashi had arranged for a team meeting to see Sasuke's new summon. At the meeting, Sasuke performed the jutsu in front of Kakashi, showing that he could in fact summon cats. At the mission hall in Konoha, Team Kurutsu had just returned from their mission. Kuratsu was a Jonin instructor assigned to his team of genin the year before Neji graduated the academy. The strongest member on his team was Shinji Hoiga, the eldest son of Kenjo Hoiga, grandson of Iro Hoiga, and the heir of that family of the main branch. Shinji already possessed the talent to advance to Chunin, and Kuratsu had been pressured by the Hoiga clan for years to let him participate. However, Kuratsu felt that the other two members of his team, Umi Ritani and Hoko no Funi, both descended from civilian clans, were not yet ready for such an exam. As such, the potential of this Hyuga had been held back, despite the fact that he was only 13. The mission Team Kurutsu had just finished was none other than the mission nicknamed as the Genin's Bane, also known as the Capture Tora mission. The fire daimyo's wife was busy suffocating the poor cat, and the team was relieved that was finally done. Poof. Tora disappeared from the fire daimyo's wife's arms in a puff of smoke. Team Kurutsu just stared at the whole event wide-eyed and fearing what was most likely going to happen next. "Tora," said the lady, looking around for where her cat may have gone. "Oh dear, she seems to have gotten lost again. Children, I don't suppose you could go fetch her again for me?" asked the noble lady. They shot a look at Tsunade, asking her to send some other team, but the Hokage just motioned for them to complete their mission, as it was no longer complete. The team sighed and dragged their tired feet out the door for round 2 of the chase. "Ga!" shouted Naruto, realizing what cat Sasuke had just summoned. The rest of Team 7 had similar reactions, and as quickly as Tora disappeared from the fire daimyo's wife's arms, Team 7 disappeared from the scene, not wanting to become involved with that mission ever again. They eventually regrouped at Ikiraku's. Naruto had been the one to go there first, and by the time the rest of the team had arrived, he was already sipping down his first bowl. There was no point in dragging him off now, and everyone else was agreeing they could use a bite to eat that didn't taste like cat food. "Sasuke, we are going to need to work on controlling which cats you can summon. I want to make this very clear. Never summon that cat ever again," scolded Kakashi. "You understand, right?" "I completely understand. That contract is more dangerous than it seemed," replied Sasuke. Hinata sat in her room, trying to think about something that was coming up that was very important. Today was October 7th, 3 days before the birthday of one Naruto Uzumaki. The past few years, she had known pretty much what to get him many days before his birthday. Last year, she had gotten him that pair of goggles that he used to wear back in the academy. The year before was that famed orange jacket that he was always wearing. The year before that one was when she got him Gama-chan, his frog wallet. 4 years ago, which was the first year she really began to take notice of him and develop a crush on him, the time in the academy when he saved her from a group of bullies. For that year, she simply got him a loaded Ikiraku's gift card, noticing how much he liked the place. After that, she realized just how lonely he really was, and that she was the only one who had gotten him presents for his birthday besides the third. Every year since 4 years ago, she got him a present, and the idea for the present usually came from the observations that she made while stalking him around town. Each year, she told herself that she would personally hand the gift to him and let him know that there was someone in Konoha that was glad he was there. However, every time, she was too shy to carry through with her intentions. She wanted so bad to let him know that those gifts he had been getting from an anonymous person were from her. Nei-san. It was around this time that Hanabi had come looking for her sister. She hadn't seen Hinata for a few hours, and Hinata did not realize that she had been in her room this long. "Oh, hello Hanabi," responded Hinata. "Nei-san, why have you been in your room for these past few hours?" asked the younger Hoiga. It's nothing. I was just thinking," said Hinata. "About what?" asked Hanabi, getting a rather devious smile on her face. "Oh, I see. Naruto's birthday is coming up, isn't it?" What are you going to get him this year? Hinata's posture quickly straightened and she began to blush, indicating to Hanabi that she had guessed spot on. How did you know? To be honest, you aren't very good at keeping your feelings from him a secret, especially in this clan. At least half the clan knows you get him something for his birthday and even more know that you kind of like him, said Hanabi, causing Hinata to turn a darker shade of red. So, what are you going to get him? I don't know, said Hinata, lowering her head. The past few years I have been able to find something that he really wants, but this year it has been more difficult. I want to give him something that shows him that I care for him, but I just can't seem to think of it. Hanabi thought on this for a little. Well, you are a really good cook. From what father has told me, he's usually been alone on his birthday. Not to mention, it doesn't seem like anyone comes around to celebrate with him or even bring him a cake. Both Hinata and Hanabi got the same idea. If Naruto has never had a birthday cake before, Hinata would make him his first one, and hopefully not the last one she would be making him. This would be special and something he would remember. Oh, and you're going to give it to him personally this year, aren't you? What makes you say that, Hanabi? I always give him his present, lied Hinata. No, you just leave it at his door and then hide around the corner, said Hanabi, calling Hinata's bluff. Hinata's head dropped. Am I really that bad? Asked a depressed Hinata. Hanabi just nodded. But you will give this to him and not just leave it at his door, right? Asked the smaller of the two. Stuttered Hinata as she began to play with her fingers. Hanabi shot her a little glare, trying to get her sister to gather the courage to finally tell Naruto how she felt. After all, what were sisters for? You're right, Hanabi. I need to show Naruto how I feel about him, admitted Hinata. Good, now that that's settled, let's get to baking that cake, exclaimed Hanabi as she raced off towards the kitchen. Despite being a confident shinobi prodigy from one of the most esteemed clans in Konoha, Hanabi was still a 6-year-old girl, and like all girls her age, they liked helping their mothers with baking in the kitchen with the hopes that they would get the remaining cake batter from the bowls. Hanabi. Naruto's birthday isn't for 3 more days. The cake needs to be fresh, said Hinata. This put a dent in Hanabi's plan to get some free cake batter as she would now have to wait a few days, as Hinata wasn't going to make it until the day of Naruto's birthday so that she could give it to him fresh. In a shady building, somewhere in the dark alleyways of Konoha, around 40 civilians had gathered together for a meeting. After a few minutes of waiting in a crowded audience chamber, one of them stood up and proceeded to the podium. I hereby call this meeting of the Committee of Concerned Citizens regarding Demon Affairs in Konoha to attention, announced the person at the podium. Unless any of you have any matters you wish to share, I would like to proceed with the preparations for this year's demon hunt. This will finally be the year where we finish off the demon brat and fulfill what the Yondaime had set out to do. That's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on my other social media accounts. Anime God here, and I'm signing off.